You know your girlfriend's cheating, right? That's the first thing Scout said to me as she slid into the seat across from mine, eyes steady, voice low. I didn't blink, didn't move, just stirred my coffee. She leaned forward. With, "Your best friend, Amir, Ronan. Still nothing from me. No twitch, no curse, no outrage. Because I already knew. I'd seen the messages 2 nights ago. Watched Monroe laugh too hard at Ronan's jokes. Felt the shift in her touch, like it didn't belong to me anymore. She thought I was too quiet to notice, too calm to care. But silence isn't surrender. Silence is patience. She called me boring, said I never caused drama, said Ronan knew how to talk, how to lead a room. I didn't argue. I just listened. Let her words settle over my bones like frost. Let the silence harden. Monroe wasn't just flirting with my best friend. She was testing how much of me she could erase before I reacted. And Ronan? He played along like a dog sniffing around a locked door, waiting to be let in. Scout, loyal to a fault, slammed her phone on the table and showed me proof. Screenshots. One where Monroe wrote, "If Amir ever found out, I wonder if he'd even fight for me." She was right. I wouldn't fight for her. Not the way she expected. I smiled at Scout finally. "Thanks," she frowned. "That's it?" "That's everything." I didn't confront Monroe that night. I kissed her forehead. Whispered, "You've been distant lately. Want to go somewhere this weekend? Just us?" She smiled. "I'd love that." Ronan had no idea I was looking him in the eye the next day, shaking his hand like we were still brothers. But I wasn't. Shaking his hand. I was burying the last thread of trust between us. They both thought silence made me weak. But silence is just noise that waits its turn. And now, it was listening. Monroe and I met under fluorescent lights and broken vending machines. She was late to class. I was early to everything. She bumped into me and didn't apologize, just stared like she'd never seen someone that still. Said I looked like the kind of guy who read instructions before doing anything, and I said she looked like the kind who'd set things on fire just to watch them glow. She laughed, and I fell a little. We didn't fall fast. We drifted. Monroe was unpredictable, magnetic, always 2 seconds from storming out of a room or commanding it. I was quiet, observant, the one who stood against walls while she danced in the center of everything. She liked that about me. Or maybe she just liked the way my silence didn't interrupt her spotlight. In the beginning, Monroe said I made her feel safe, that she could be wild and unfiltered around me, that I was the only calm in her chaos. I believed her. Believed every late-night whisper, every hand squeeze, every sleepy, "I love how steady you are." But somewhere between the whispers and the hand squeezes, she stopped seeing my steadiness as strength and started calling it silence, then dullness, then passivity. I still remember the first time I saw the shift in her eyes. We were at Ronan's apartment, game night. She laughed too hard at his jokes, the kind of laugh that tipped her head back and exposed her throat, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. Ronan was my best friend. From before Monroe, from before any of this. He was the kind of guy people noticed when he walked into a room. Loud, smooth, all charm and teeth. He talked big, moved fast, and always got what he wanted. I wasn't jealous of him. I just didn't expect the betrayal to come from him, too. Monroe started coming home later. Her phone started living face down. Her perfume started lingering even when she wasn't in the room. And me? I stayed the same, watched, waited. People mistake silence for peace, for indifference. But silence is pressure. It builds, it listens, it remembers. Monroe and I never fought. That was our thing. No yelling, no drama. But maybe that's because she did the screaming elsewhere, in Ronan's arms, in messages she thought I'd never see. When Scout showed me the screenshots, I didn't feel rage. I felt something colder. Scout had always been around. Childhood friend, blunt, protective, the type who didn't tolerate Monroe's games. She saw through the glitter and called it what it was. A cover, she texted me first. "I need to talk to you. Face to face." I knew then. Not because she spelled it out, but because real loyalty has a tone. And Scout's voice was pure steel. When she showed me the screenshots, I didn't look away. Monroe, curled up on Ronan's couch, calling him her safety net. Asking him what he'd do if Amir ever disappeared. Telling him she was tired of pretending. Tired of pretending. That word echoed. Because that's all I'd been doing. Pretending I didn't notice. Pretending the cold sheets weren't empty because of her. Pretending Ronan's smirks weren't hiding something. When Monroe came home that night, I was in the kitchen, cutting fruit. She wrapped her arms around me, kissed my shoulder. "Missed you," she murmured. I smiled and handed her a slice of apple. "Take off Friday." She blinked. "Why?" "Let's go away. Just us." Her eyes widened like she'd been caught. "Oh, yeah. Sure." She didn't expect that. Didn't expect me to lean in closer when I should have been pushing away. I didn't need her to come clean. I needed her to keep playing the part. Because silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. Monroe and I shared a bed, a lease, a dog. But after that night, we shared nothing. I watched her move through our apartment like a stranger rehearsing lines. She'd kiss me without looking. Laugh too hard at nothing. Whisper compliments she didn't mean. And I let her. Because every move she made, every lie she layered, was mine to use. Ronan kept texting me like we were still brothers. Inviting me out. Tagging me in old photos like he hadn't gutted me in secret. I played along, liked the posts, responded with emojis. Because I didn't want him suspicious. I wanted him comfortable. I wanted them both to believe I was still the same Amir they left behind. The man who listened, the man who stayed quiet, the man who wouldn't fight back. But the truth? I never left. I just stopped talking and started watching. It started with a keychain. Monroe never cared about small things. Forgot birthdays, misplaced jewelry, left lipstick caps loose. But the keychain hanging from her bag one morning wasn't hers. It was a cheap little wooden surfboard painted blue, chipped at the edges. It belonged to Ronan. I knew because I'd seen him flick it through his fingers 100 times when he was thinking. Said he picked it up from a beach in Lisbon and kept it for luck. I watched her zip her bag shut quickly when she saw me looking. Smiled too fast. "Morning, babe." She didn't realize I already knew. 2 weeks earlier, her location had glitched and sent me a ping from Ronan's building at midnight. She claimed she was at Scout's. Scout didn't lie, confirmed she wasn't. I didn't confront her, just bookmarked the moment like a pin in a map. That day, I asked casually, "Where were you yesterday?" She blinked. "Work ran late." Nodded. "You left the office at 6. She froze. Just for a second. Just long enough to confirm what I needed. Her smile cracked. "You checking my location now?" "Of course not," I lied. "I just called your office." The silence that followed wasn't mine. It was hers. That night, she made dinner. Overcompensated. Poured my favorite wine and wore the dress I once told her she looked happiest in. It didn't work. The fabric hung differently on her now. Like, it didn't belong. Over dessert, she leaned forward. "You've been distant, Amir. Is everything okay?" I looked at her and realized she was trying to pull me back in. Like I was the one drifting. Like I was the one with wandering eyes and borrowed keychains. I nodded. "Just work stress." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand like she used to. And for a second, I remembered why I fell for her. She used to carry storms in her laughter. Now she just carried secrets. The next day, Ronan showed up at my place uninvited. Said he was in the neighborhood. Said he missed bro time. I let him in. We drank on the balcony. He asked about Monroe like he always did, pretending to be casual. I asked about the surfboard. "Keychain." He laughed. "Man, I lost that thing." "Yeah?" I took a slow sip. "I think Monroe found it." He blinked. I saw the color leave his face for just a second before he covered it with a smirk. Small world. I didn't respond. Let the silence fill the air between us. Let it hum. He stayed for half an hour longer, but his smile never returned to full strength. A week later, Scout caught them. She was picking up takeout from the Thai place near Ronan's apartment. Saw Monroe's car parked outside. Saw Monroe walking out the front door. Hair tousled, hoodie too big, the kind she'd never wear unless it belonged to someone else. Ronan followed 10 seconds behind, hoodieless. She took pictures, sent them. To me that night. I didn't open them. I didn't need to. But I saved them anyway. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the lie of it all. The performance. The way Monroe looked at me every morning and asked what I wanted for breakfast, while smelling like Ronan's cologne. She wasn't just cheating. She was rewriting reality and handing me the script. I stopped asking questions. She stopped offering answers. The house became a stage where we both knew our roles but pretended we didn't. She tried harder. Said she wanted to reconnect. Booked a weekend trip. Left scented notes around the apartment. Bought me new clothes. Told me she missed the old us. And every time she smiled, I smiled back. Because this wasn't about her anymore. Or Ronan. It was about what people do when they think they've won. I'd seen it before. In fights. In life. The moment someone gets too comfortable, they let their guard down. They say too much. Show too much. Leave too many trails. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet. I was collecting. Because the thing about betrayal is, it doesn't just happen in a moment. It unfolds. One choice at a time. Monroe chose to hide her guilt behind lipstick and quiet mornings. Ronan chose to laugh through lies and call it loyalty. And I chose silence. Not because I was weak, but because I needed to be sure. Sure of what I saw. Sure of what they were. Sure of what I'd become when I stopped pretending. So when Scout called me that night, voice tight with anger, saying, "You can't let them walk all over you like this," I only had one answer. I'm not letting them do anything. Pause. They just don't know they've already lost. There's a specific kind of ache that doesn't shout. It waits, lingers, tucks itself into the corners of your day and whispers when everything else goes quiet. That's the ache I carried. Didn't explode when I saw Monroe lie to my face. It didn't claw out of me when I watched Ronan pretend we were still brothers. Instead, it curled around my ribs and made itself at home. Every time she kissed my cheek, it burned. Every time he called me bro, it echoed. I started waking up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, reaching for air that didn't feel real anymore. I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder if I'd always been this blind or just willingly so. What hurt most wasn't the cheating. It was the performance, the smiles, the fake concern, the easy way she said my name like she still loved me. The way Ronan looked me in the eyes like nothing had changed. I'd been replaced, not with fire, but with indifference. That's what Monroe gave me. That's what Ronan delivered with every casual smirk. They didn't even hate me. They just removed me. That made it worse. I wasn't mad in the way people expect. There were no screaming fits, no broken furniture, no rage texts at 2 a.m. I didn't want vengeance. I wanted answers. But the deeper I dug for those, the more I realized the silence between us had grown too wide to ever speak across again. Monroe had created a world where I was a placeholder. Someone she could walk past while looking backward. Someone who would never question her because that's how I'd trained her. And that realization gutted me. The man I thought I was, the one who listened, the one who held peace like a badge, had become a man so quiet that the people closest to him assumed he wouldn't notice being erased. And maybe I didn't notice. Maybe I chose not to. Maybe I watched the fire and kept saying, "It's just smoke." I started questioning everything. Not just Monroe, not just Ronan, but myself. What did I let slide? What did I excuse in the name of being understanding? What did I forgive before it even had a name? I was unraveling. The nights were the worst. Lying beside Monroe, hearing her breathing steady, peaceful, while mine shook with a storm I couldn't show. I'd stare at the back of her head and remember every promise we made, every place she kissed and said she loved. Did she mean it? Did she ever? There were moments I almost woke her up. Wanted to say everything. Wanted to scream that I knew. That I wasn't blind. That I wasn't stupid. That I had proof. But I didn't, because saying it would make it real. And I wasn't ready to be that version of myself yet. I still wanted to believe some piece of her belonged to me. That maybe there was guilt buried behind her smile. That maybe I hadn't lost everything. But every time I reached for that idea, it slipped through my fingers. And then there was Ronan. Every laugh he gave me felt poisoned. Every time he patted my back or shared a story, I wanted to knock the smile off his face. But I didn't. Because I didn't want him to know how much I cared. How deeply he cut. They thought I was silent because I didn't know. The truth? I was silent because I did. And the longer I said nothing, the heavier it became. I began writing things down. Little notes. Sentences I'd never say aloud. You took her. You knew she was mine. Was I ever enough or just convenient? I hope you choke on everything you stole from me. It helped. A little. Scout called every other day, checking in. She knew I was breaking, even if I didn't say it. I kept things light with her, but she saw through it. You're not made of stone, Amir, she told me one night. You're made of glass and you're cracking. I didn't argue. I just nodded. That night, Monroe came home late. Again. Said she stayed at a friend's. No explanation, no guilt. Just a quick kiss on my cheek and a shower. I sat on the couch, her keychain glinting under the hallway light. Ronan's keychain. My hands clenched, not because of what they'd done, but because of what I was about to do. The man they betrayed, the quiet one, the understanding one, was about to disappear. Not in a loud way, not in a dramatic scene, but in silence. In careful, cold silence. The same way they took everything from me, step by step, smile by smile, and I was ready to take it all back. The second twist didn't come with shouting or slamming doors. It came with a quiet vibration at 2:43 a.m. Monroe's phone buzzed on the nightstand. She was asleep, curled away from me, breathing soft like she had no guilt stitched into her chest. I wasn't planning to look. But when the screen lit up and I saw the name, Scout, I froze. Scout never texted Monroe. I waited until the phone dimmed, heart pounding in my ears. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Monroe shifted, but didn't wake. I slid out of bed and stepped into the hall, grabbing my own phone and opening the message Scout had just sent me. We need to talk. I think it's bigger than you thought. You were never the only one. My stomach dropped. I dialed. She answered immediately, voice low. She's not just seeing Ronan. I didn't speak. I just let the weight of it fall into my chest like a lead anchor, Scout continued. There's another guy, maybe two. One from her gym, one she met at some gallery opening. I heard it from someone who saw her with both. She doesn't even try to hide it anymore. My mouth was dry. I thought, she just messed up once, Amir, but this is something else. The silence between us stretched. I could hear her breathing, waiting for me to say something. But I had nothing. No words. Just a sick, heavy realization that this wasn't about Ronan anymore. It never was. It was about Monroe. The person I built a life with, planned a future with, she hadn't just broken one thing. She'd broken everything. I whispered, I'm done. Scout didn't ask what I meant. She just said, good. When I walked back into the bedroom, Monroe was still asleep. I watched her for a long moment. The way she rested so peacefully, like the world hadn't been flipped upside down by her hands. And maybe that was the final betrayal. That she could sleep through it all. That morning, I didn't speak to her. I just packed a bag and left before she woke. She called around noon. I didn't answer. By evening, she texted, Where are you? Are we okay? Amir, this isn't like you. Please come home. I didn't reply. I needed her to sit with the silence now. Let it crawl over her skin like it had over mine. Let it echo. Let it rot. Let it hurt. Because this wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was clarity, and clarity burns. It happened at a party. Of course it did. Monroe always needed an audience, and I needed an ending. Fate gave us both. Scout sent me the invite. It wasn't meant for me. Monroe was attending with Ronan, publicly now, like nothing ever happened, like we had never existed. It was a gallery, launched downtown, sponsored by one of Ronan's fake, deep, rich friends. The kind of place where people drink to be seen, not to enjoy. I didn't go to crash it. I went to end it. The moment I walked in, the energy changed. You could feel it. Some people whispered, others stared. And then came the pause. The moment Monroe saw me, she froze mid-laugh, a glass of champagne halfway to her lips. Ronan turned just as slow. Both of them wearing that glazed, polished look of people trying to pretend they weren't caught. But there was nothing left to catch. They were already exposed. I didn't look at her. I walked past her like she was the air. Ronan spoke first. Yo, Amir, you got the invite too? His voice was fake light, the way people talk when their shame's just beneath the surface. I turned to face them. Didn't need one. Monroe stepped forward. Amir, we need to talk. No. I said it calm, flat, like a door closing. She blinked, stunned. Please? I tilted my head. Talk? Like the way you talk to Ronan? Or the gym guy? Or the one from the gallery? That one hit. Her face flinched, lips parted like the truth hurt more than the lie ever could. Ronan tried to step in, but I raised a hand, not angrily, just final. You don't get to speak, I told him, not after pretending to be my brother while practicing betrayal like a skill set. He stayed still, jaw tight, chest puffed like he was waiting for a fight that was never coming. I didn't give them rage. I gave them nothing. Monroe's voice cracked. It was never supposed to go that far. I laughed, quiet, hollow. You say that like it excuses anything. Around us, the room was hushed. They watched like it was art, and maybe it was. Betrayal framed in real time. Monroe reached out to touch my hand, and I stepped back. That was when she started crying. No mascara streaks, no sobs. Just quiet tears, like she'd finally realized. This wasn't a rehearsal. This was the end. I miss you, she whispered. I miss who you pretended to be, I said. Scout stood by the door, arms crossed, eyes locked on me. She didn't move, didn't speak. Just let me burn everything down in my own way. I was patient, I told Monroe. Too patient. I gave you space, gave you grace, gave you every benefit of the doubt. You took that and built a world behind my back. I didn't mean, you meant every moment you thought I wouldn't find out. She opened her mouth, closed it again. Ronan stayed quiet. He knew there was nothing he could say. So I gave them one last thing. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out the key Monroe had kept. My apartment key. The one she never thought I'd ask for back because she thought I'd always be there. I placed it gently on the table between us. I took a walk through our old apartment, I said. Felt like a museum of someone I used to be. Her lips trembled. Don't come looking. For me, I added, there's nothing left to find. The silence that followed was the loudest thing in the room. And then I left. No explosion. No scream. Just finality. I walked into the night like I belonged to it. Outside, Scout waited. She fell into step beside me without a word. We walked 2 blocks in silence before she finally asked, You good? No, I said honestly, but I'm free. That's when it hit me. This wasn't the end of a relationship. It was the end of a version of me, the version that tolerated being overlooked, the version that made excuses for love, the version that mistook silence for strength when it was really just fear in a prettier dress. I stopped walking and looked. Up at the sky, no stars, just empty clouds and the kind of darkness that promises light if you wait long enough. Scout nudged my shoulder. You did good. I shook my head. I did what I had to. She was quiet a moment. And now was the hard part. Because after the dust settles, after the fire burns out, all that's left is the ashes. and you have to decide whether to bury them or build something new. I turned to her, voice low. Now I start over, quietly, and she smiled. Not the kind of smile Monroe used to fake, but the kind that meant something. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I didn't text her. I didn't stare at old pictures. I let the silence hold me, but this time, it didn't hurt. It healed. I didn't block Monroe, didn't delete Ronan, didn't vanish. I let them see me. That was the revenge, not loud, not violent, but undeniable. They watched me glow up in silence the same way they broke me in it. They didn't know that Scout had sent the gallery photos to a friend who worked PR for an emerging tech company. They didn't know that friend showed the CEO my story, my silence, my poise. The CEO called me in for a meeting, offered me a position not because of a resume, he didn't even ask for one, but because he said, anyone who can hold that kind of composure in front of betrayal, I want in my boardroom. I took the offer, a 6-figure role, a new office in a new building, a new apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city Monroe once ruled in. She tried calling me 3 weeks after the confrontation. I let it ring, then I texted back. Just one word. No. That was enough. But life had other ideas. 1 month after that, I got an email from Ronan, a long, desperate one, rambling about how Monroe wasn't who he thought, how she was manipulative, how she used him, how he should have been loyal. I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a photo. Scout took it, a candid of me laughing, sleeves rolled, sunlight catching my jaw, my new office badge clipped to my shirt. The caption read, "Silence was never weakness. It was my war cry." It went viral. Thousands of likes. Comments pouring in. I didn't tag anyone, but they knew. Because that's what silence does. It lets the guilty fill in the blanks with their own confessions. A few days later, I got a DM from an unknown account. The profile picture was blank. No posts. Monroe. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to handle it. You were always so calm. I didn't think you cared. I was wrong. I miss you. Can we talk? Just once? Please. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "You didn't break me. You built me. Thank you." And I hit send. That was the last thing I ever gave her, because the universe has a funny way of tying loose ends. A week later, I was invited to a corporate gala as a guest speaker. Big names, flashing lights, media, old contacts, new money. I wore black. Scout picked it. Said it made me look like someone you couldn't lie to. As I stepped off the stage after my speech, someone tapped my shoulder. It was her, Monroe. She looked older, not aged, just worn. Like the world had stopped looking at her the way she needed it to. Her hair wasn't done like usual. Her lipstick was faded. She smiled like she was still beautiful enough to get away with everything. But this time, it didn't work. I heard, "Your speech," she said. I nodded. "You hear it all the way in Ronan's apartment?" She flinched. We're not talking anymore." I smiled faintly. "You must be exhausted. All that betrayal takes effort." She swallowed. "Can we just have one conversation? Just you and me? No crowd, no cameras." I stepped closer. "You already had that, for 3 years, and you spent it lying." Her eyes welled up. She reached for my hand. Scout stepped in. Gently, but firmly. "He's got a meeting, with people who know his worth." Monroe's voice cracked. "You don't even want closure?" I gave it to her with a single line. "Closure isn't something you owe someone who lit the match and watched you burn." Then I walked away. Again, and this time, I didn't look back. Later that night, Ronan showed up in the comment section of one of my posts. No name, just a burner account. He left a simple line, "You won." I didn't reply, because it wasn't about winning. It was about surviving. Then thriving. Then standing so tall, the ones who tried to bury you have to crane their necks just to glimpse your shadow. Now, I'm doing fine. No, Better than fine. I own silence now. I weaponized it, turned it into armor, into elevation. Monroe still tries to reach out. She once mailed me a handwritten letter. I didn't open it. Just handed it to Scout, who dropped it in a bin, lit a match, and watched it burn. You really are free, she said, watching the flame curl the edges. I am. I walk into rooms now and don't question if I belong. I don't carry the past like weight, I carry it like fire. It clears space for the future. And that future? It's mine. Not because of revenge, but because of restraint. Because when they pushed, I didn't push back. I stepped aside, let them trip, let them fall, and when they turned around to blame someone, I was already too far ahead to hear them. Ending. Revenge was never about breaking them. It was about refusing to let them break me. And in the end, they choked on the ashes, alone.